Well, standing up for the vulnerable and seeking justice, that's the vision behind a new initiative at the Regent University Law School. The Singer Center for Advocacy is named after Randy Singer, longtime friend of Regent University and a highly regarded attorney. The center will focus on teaching law students that being an attorney is a sacred calling.
The Singer Center for Advocacy is going to take our existing programs, our work, bring resources, new coaches, and more classes so we can train advocates who will go out, be public servants in government, trial lawyers, appellate advocates, advocates all over the country speaking up for those who need a voice.
The new center will be housed in Regent's Robertson Hall, with the primary goal of teaching law students the importance and even sacredness of being an advocate.
As lawyers, we are advocates. We have the privilege of speaking up for another, for being a voice for those who don't have a voice. And of course, for Christian lawyers, advocacy takes a really deep meaning because Christ is our advocate.
The center is named after attorney, author, and pastor Randy Singer.
He's an incredible man of God, first and foremost, committed to Christ above all else. He's a lawyer running one of the most successful law firms in Virginia, a pastor of Trinity Church, which is preaching the gospel, campuses all over Hampton Roads. He embodies really what we are trying to do in training up Christian lawyers who are going to change the world.
Walton says he's personally thrilled to launch the center.
Randy poured into my life when I was a student at Regent Law. He took me out to lunch. He didn't really know me. He gave me a vision for what it looks like to be a Christian lawyer. I want our students to be able to aspire to be the type of lawyer that Randy Singer is, the type of the man of God, the Christian that he is in all walks of life, excellent, but committed to Christ, walking in humility.
Well, Randy Singer is here with us now, so I've got to get right into it. A lot of lawyers don't view it this way, but how is being a lawyer a sacred calling?
Well, I'm a pastor as well as a lawyer, and so I tell people my calling as a lawyer is just as sacred as my calling as a pastor. We get to meet people at the worst moment in their life, and we get to pour into their life and minister to them. And lawyers used to be called counselors at law. Yeah. But we've given up that piece of it. A lot of lawyers have, and we're just, we're billable hours at law. And I want to call people back to ministering to clients in a holistic way, and that includes spiritually. And some of my clients, some of the greatest moments I've had as a trial lawyer is when my clients have spiritually committed their life to Christ as a result of just being in their life when they needed an advocate.
For a lot of people, hearing it being a sacred calling, they're thinking of sort of that public advocacy to
Right.
take cases that the client cannot pay that billable hour,
Right.
or take on cases that really go to the heart of what is justice, not just in America but around the world. How do you differentiate those?
Well, it's not either or, it's both and. So Christ is our advocate, and he paid a price we couldn't pay. So there is this role for pro bono work, for helping clients who are voiceless, who can't afford to pay our bills, just stepping in and bringing them justice. But it's more than that. If we see it that way, we compartmentalize it to, well, I'm doing some pro bono work, but the rest of my time over here, it's a business, I'm trying to make money. But that's not the way we see it. Justice is one of the foundations of God's character. And when we are representing a client, seeking justice, we are building the kingdom of God. We're doing the will of God. And our court system, our justice system needs lawyers committed to that. And so at the Singer Center for Advocacy, we're calling lawyers to see it as, we're asking our students to see it as a calling. We're asking them to do it with excellence. We're going to have high standards. But we're also asking them to sacrifice on behalf of their clients. Because advocacy involves sacrifice. And without Christ's sacrifice, there wouldn't have been the advocacy we needed to be, forgiven for our sins. And we want to model our advocacy after the advocacy of Christ.
In the sort of law firm world, how does this go over? Is it accepted? I know some law firms have that pro bono piece, but
Right.
it's sort of, okay, you're going to do this in your spare time,
Right.
and you got to check the box.
Yeah.
Because the Bar Association's looking at you, checking the box.
That's right.
But is this sort of all in, I am a representative of God. I'm seeking justice
Right.
because He is a just God. How does that play in sort of a big firm environment?
That's a great question. I've been in a big firm environment, and now I have my own law firm. And I will say that in both environments, the firm was, here's the key, that second element I said, excellence. If you're winning cases, and if you're building a good law practice and you're representing your clients well, then they're going to let you be yourself. And, you know, Christians in general need to be bold about our faith. Our clients, like, I'll ask my clients, okay, if I pray with you before this court hearing, I've never, Gordon, in the history of doing this, and I've been doing it for 30 years, had a client say, I don't need your prayers, let's just go in there and do it without prayer. They'll take whatever help they can get. And when they see us walking spiritually and treating this as more than just a transactional piece, this is a spiritual piece as well, then they'll respond to that. But I'm not going to force my faith on anyone. I'm just going to try and live it out in front of them. And if they're receptive to it, you know, my clients become my friends. And I think that's the way we need to approach the practice of law. It's not you pay me this much and I'll handle this case. It's, I'm going to help you in your life seek justice, and let's walk through this together. That's what Christ did, and that's what we want to model it after.
And I'll tell you just from it communicates to a jury,
Yes.
and it definitely communicates to a judge,
Right.
That you're not just there for the paycheck. You're not just trying to, I guess, get it over on the other side.
Right.
You really are pursuing something. You're on the right side.
Yeah, no, that's right. And our nonverbal language speaks louder than our words do. You know, a jury can tell, are you there? Do you really like being with your client? Are you honored to represent your client? Or are you just there to get paid, get the case over with, and move on to the next case?
You have gone through a personal journey, and you got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer.
Right.
I think a lot of people would say, okay, I'm going to take a step back now.
Yeah.
But you went the other way. I mean,
did.
you went full in.
Right, right.
Why?
Well, first of all, the week that I was diagnosed with stage 4 esophageal cancer, which is a tough diagnosis, average life expectancy like 8 to 12 months. So that's what I was looking at. But that week I got diagnosed, I was preaching from the book of Acts, where Paul is converted. And Ananias says to him that you're going to be God's chosen vessel to take his name to the Gentiles, their kings, and the children of Israel. But I'll show you how much you must suffer for my name's sake. Now, when I read that verse and I'm waiting to see what the scans are going to show, I'm like, this is not good news. That means I'm going to have to go through some things, right?
You got a couple of shipwrecks coming your way.
Exactly, and beatings and all that stuff. But I also knew that at the end of the book of Acts, Paul's still alive in Rome, and he's being used by God as a vessel to share the gospel. And so I just said, this is a word of the Lord to me, of what my, destiny is going to be. I'm going to have to go through some things. And Gordon, right now I'm going through, chemotherapy treatments and those kinds of things. But I have watched the way God has used this diagnosis, and I believe he's healing me in the miracle that he's performing to minister to people in ways I never could before. I wouldn't have chosen this door, but having been forced to walk through it, all we can do is lean into our faith. And the Singer Center for Advocacy, Gordon, probably would not exist if I hadn't been diagnosed with cancer, because my friends came around and said, we want to, you were there at the banquet and did a beautiful job opening in prayer and setting the tone of the banquet when we launched this center. But one of the things I said in my speech, the first thing I said is, I'm still here. I'm not dead, right? I can hear you guys.
I'm still in the room.
Right, I'm still in the room. Because usually you name something after somebody's passed on. But like, no, I'm going to be around for a while. I'm going to come back and ask you for more money 5 years from now. But this has given me an opportunity to step into ministry and Regent. I love this law school. Your dad's vision 30 years ago, I listened to that vision. We're going to be the Harvard, the Christian Harvard of law schools. And I'm thinking, well, we need to, we got a long ways to go.
We need a library.
Right, we need a building. We didn't even have a building at the time. But man, now I'm seeing it happen. Can I share something with you that happened 2 weeks ago, Gordon? They have a moot court tournament, which part of the Singer Center for Advocacy is coaching the moot court teams and the trial advocacy teams. Well, 2 weekends ago in Houston, they brought together the top 16 teams for like a national championship. And Regent got invited because we were 11th in the nation last year. And after all the smoke had cleared and the tournament was over and everything else, our 3 students, coached by Professor Hernandez, so Ali Al-Habar and Diana Bloomquist and Emily Mayers, ended up first place in the nation, beating everyone on the way to the national championship. That's what's happening at Regent Law School. I just got back from a tournament at Wake Forest Regional in the trial advocacy part of it, and we made the semifinals and lost by 1 ballot in going to the finals. So in our Southeast region, so God is doing some things. He's brought special students to Regent, and it is my honor and privilege to get to mentor them.
And they're going out and changing the world.
Absolutely.
Back to your health. I heard that you are getting better, that the scans are
Right.
showing marked improvement.
Right.
Then, is the prognosis changing?
Well, excuse me, the doctors are somewhat amazed by this, but I see the scans as the trailing indicator of what God's doing, right? So first, I know God's healing me, and then the scans are evidence of that. And in the past 2 scans, we've seen the cancer, excuse me, Gordon, I've got this little bracelet that says, don't shrink back, from the verse in Hebrews. We don't belong to people who shrink back.
Yeah, he takes pleasure. You want God to take pleasure.
Right. He doesn't take pleasure in those who shrink back, so don't shrink back. So I have that on my wrist to remind me I'm not going to be defeated by the cancer. I'm not shrinking back. But Gordon, the cancer is shrinking back. And these last 2 scans have been tremendous news. And even my head doctor at Sloan Kettering is looking at the scans and saying, this is amazing. And he attributes it to things that aren't just physical that are going on. And so God's doing a work, and we're seeing evidence of it. But the faith comes first, and then the scans are the evidence of the faith, as opposed to vice versa.
I shall not die, but live and declare the glory of
That's
the
right.
Lord. And that is, you're going to, God's doing an amazing thing. How do you fit being a pastor into all this?
Well, being a pastor, I call it my Jekyll and Hyde, deal. So you can guess which one's
by day, pastor
which one's Jekyll,
pastor by Sunday.
That's right, pastor on Sunday, and shark lawyer on Monday. But people think that pastor and lawyer are the opposite, but really, it's a lot the same. It's advocacy, right? And it's explaining the case for the gospel, but it's also ministering to people, and it's servant leadership. So a lot of the things I do as a pastor are the things I try to do as a lawyer. And I've just got to say, Gordon, I pastor Trinity Church. Our staff at Trinity is fantastic, and we have several other pastors. I'm not the lead pastor anymore. They call me Pastor Emeritus, which I said that's a fancy Latin word for out to pasture. So I get to come in and preach once a month. But we've got a tremendous staff, and I've realized in life, if you can hire people and work with people who are smarter than you and better than you, you can go a long way. And that's been my philosophy at my firm and at the church.
Well, there's a long history of lawyers who become pastors.
That's right.
But not doing both at the same time. Paul, I think, was a lawyer. I mean, just his arguments are pretty incredible. St. Augustine. There are a lot of long history. So
that's right. And at the center, I'm kind of co-leading this with Pamela Hutchins, who's been a longtime prosecutor and a judge. And I'm talking about, working with people who are smarter than you and have this distinguished career. And one of the things she's doing that we want to do at the center is a call to public service. Like, it's not just about going to a big private law firm. You can be a prosecutor, you can be a public defender, you can go into the JAG Corps, and you can serve people in that way too. And a lot of our law schools have backed away from being prosecutors because of the, just the liberal nature of so many law schools. But we want to lean into that, because representing those victims, that's God's justice too.
Yeah, it's critical. All right, well, Randy, thanks for joining with us. If you want to know more about Regent University, the Singer Center for Advocacy, it's real simple. Go to our website, regent.edu. Regent offers a variety of degrees, but the law school is just, it's rising so fast in the standings. And if you want to have a career where you can be an advocate and view it as a sacred calling, well, Regent University is the place for you. So go to regent.edu. You can also call that special number, 866 910-7615. Randy, thanks for your life. Thanks for your testimony.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much.
being with us.
I really appreciate it.